Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mitt podcast, episode number 147. We're going to talk about in this episode how to set up filters in your life that protect you from negative people, events, and circumstances, and ultimately bring incredible opportunities and happiness into your life. And by the end of this episode, you're going to change your perspective and see a different version of why certain people were treating you the wrong way, why you went through certain negative circumstances, and how to be proactive and prevent them. And real quick, just before we get started, I want to give you guys two quick resources to help you on your journey. If you're a business owner or entrepreneur, I have a inner circle mentorship consulting group for anybody that has a small, medium, or large size business or in the process of starting one. It's by application only. You just have to book a quick call at grantmittconsulting.com. I also have a private business community with weekly calls, and there is a free 7-day trial. There's a link below to join that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. What is a filter? A filter is something that protects unwanted things from entering anything. You could have a water filter, which prevents toxins, metals, and other things from getting into your water. You could put a filter on an air conditioning, which stops harmful things from entering the airspace. But few people create filters for their own lives and their own businesses. I discovered this when I became an entrepreneur and I started hiring people, which was definitely the hardest thing that I had to learn, and I'm still learning. And every business owner has experienced this. And even as just a person in general, it is a challenge to bring great people into our lives, retain them, keep them, and stop negative people who have toxicity and chaos and drama from entering your field. It's very easy to do. And even if you have clear intentions and you know what you want, sometimes no matter how much you work and how much discernment you have, these people will start randomly creeping into your life. Next thing you know, you had a great beginning part of the year, and then you start dealing with all these problems. You're like, where did this happen? And I had this similar experience, first in my business and then my life. And I came up with this strategy to help prevent 99% of all drama, toxicity, and headaches from ever entering my life. So let's talk about how to do this. Certain people come with certain problems. When you live in certain parts of town, certain things happen that don't happen in other parts of town. And what happens is the more you deal with people at any level, whether it's dating, whether it's hiring and firing people, whether it's your friend group, whether it's networking, you start noticing commonalities and certain common traits in each type of person. For example, there's certain groups and cultures that are very lively, loud, and outgoing people. It's fun, right? Maybe you like that, maybe you don't. There's other cultures that are very stern, that are not very chatty when they're meeting people for the first time. It's quite interesting. You know, for example, being from Southern boy from Texas, when I moved to New York City for 2 years, it was a culture shock. And I ended up loving it, and I love New Yorkers. But cultures and communication styles that were normal in Houston and in other parts of Texas were not normal in Brooklyn or Manhattan, New York. So I had to learn and adapt to my surroundings, to the people I was communicating with. And I also had to learn the traits of these people to better understand how to navigate that environment. If you ever find yourself constantly dealing with a certain type of behavior, it's easy to blame other people. It's easy to look at these negative 3 or 4 people that came in your life and complain about how every guy is toxic or every person in this city is horrible to deal with, or dating's bad in this city. But what we actually need to do is hold up a mirror to our face and blame ourselves, not in a judgmental way, but realize that life is so beautiful and perfect that we will always be presented with who is needed to correct our soul and to help ourselves improve. And also, we attract what we are in some capacity. So a great way to look at what your current energy or state of mind is to write down the last 5 or 10 people that you have been communicating with the most over the last 30 to 60 days. And then write out how their life is going. Are they happy? What are the key and core traits that that person has versus other people? What conversations and what things have you been worrying about consistently? This will give you a ginormous mirror that you can look in to show yourself what you've been focused on recently. This is so important because even if you're a hardworking, talented, and capable person, we can slip into these bad habits, bad environments, and around bad groups of people very easily. It happens like this. So I want to give you guys a 3-step process to build filters in every area of your life, your business, your environments, your personal life, your dating life, networking, you name it. And I'm gonna give you a quick story of how I implemented this into my own life and my own businesses. The first thing is when you assess all of the people that have entered your life, in any standpoint, I want you to write out negative common denominators that each one of these people had. We all know that everyone's different. Everyone has different interests, backgrounds, cultures, religions, interests. But there's certain common denominators that follow people who carry certain behavioral patterns. The reason why identifying these negative behaviors is if you meet someone and they have a lot of great traits, but you pick up and you notice a couple common denominators that the last 20 people that you had major issues with, that cause issues in your life and stress and problems and chaos, if they have that same common denominator, be polite, be kind, be respectful, but pull your energy, time, and focus away from that person. What I learned in hiring is when we identify these common denominators, even if someone looked like they would be a great fit, they said all the right things, they were polished, they were well spoken, they had a solid background. But if any one of these red flags popped up, we always started to trust our gut that said, even though they look good on paper, we're not going to hire them. When you have wishful thinking and you dust things under the rug, the problems only get bigger. And what I learned from this process of hiring and identifying these red flags is that any time we decided to say, well, I know they have these red flags, but they just speak so well and they worked at this great company. Let's just hire them and see how it goes. We always paid the price. So the red flags that you see in the beginning that are very subtle always get bigger. If someone's toxic, if they're controlling, if they have an anger problem, they have a substance abuse problem, think about it. No one, including the craziest people on earth, when they meet someone for the first time, everyone shows the best version of themselves. They dress the nicest, they hold their tongue on opinionated views, they're nicer, they're more respectful than likely they'll ever be. Not always, but generally speaking, you're going to get the best version of that person. So when you see those negative patterns, you have to take note of them because they're likely commonalities that will be also found in other people that will save you 6, 12 months, 3, 4, 5 years of wasted time, energy, and resources that you can redirect into something positive. Positive common denominators in great people who make your life better, bring you fulfillment, and bring up and lift every single person in the room. Success leaves clues. I've noticed over the years that certain small traits that individuals have lead to great success. The first thing is attention to detail. Really intelligent people notice small things that maybe you said, something happened in an event, or details in their business that nobody else noticed. Success is in the details. The bulk of humans pick up on all the 70 to 90% of data that comes into their mind. Few people think about the details that no one could ever imagine. I have a friend that runs a $300+ million dermatology practice, and they have 20+ locations all over Texas. They have an incredible brand. You've probably seen their billboards if you've ever been in Austin or Dallas or Houston. And I had a long 20, 30-minute conversation with him about little things that he does in his business to set everything apart. And first, I love his billboards. They have Wilhelmina and Ford models in Italy, which shows like this high-end brand because they do cosmetic work, they do plastic surgery, they do dermatology. So if they're showing the most beautiful women in the world, that's what most of their clients want to become. Also, another thing is everything they have is real granite. They'll spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on the highest quality stone in granite in their locations. You go into the restroom, they have Gucci wallpaper all over the world. It's class. When you enter it, you know that you're in the best of the best. And I said, I love that, but what made you want to do that and spend that extra money? He said, well, think about it. Why do people go to the best cities, the best hotels, and the best resorts in the world? If my ideal client likes those things, then I want my offices and my locations to resemble that same brand look. And I was like, man, that's incredible. It's so small. Because you think if you got great doctors and it looks nice, but not elite, he'd be okay. And it's right, he would be okay, but he wouldn't have a $300 million practice and be one of the most well-known, respected dermatology and plastic surgery companies in the United States and specifically in Texas. It's always the little things. So when you notice things that people do, like being kind to the waiter or waitress, opening the door for someone, saying thank you, writing a card for someone, when they go to a party or an event, they bring flowers or they bring drinks or they bring gifts. They're always kind. They're always on time. You'll start noticing consistent common denominators that when you pick it up with new people, when you're just meeting them for the first time, it is a great sign that they might be a fantastic person and someone you want to invest in, hire, and spend more time with. 3, environments all come with certain circumstances, both positive and negative. If you go to the worst part of the city that you live in, that has the highest crime, that has poverty, and has problems, is there a chance that you could go there, spend a couple days there, and not get robbed, killed, or mugged? It's definitely a possibility. But are the chances higher that you could go through one of those circumstances compared to the nicest and safest part of the city you live in? Yes, of course, right? That is the same way people in life works. When we talk about a filter, what I essentially mean is you want to curate an environment and a selection system that stops the wrong people from entering your life and put yourself in the right condo, apartment, neighborhood, city, country, and community to where, yes, can bad things happen? Of course. Could something go wrong? Absolutely. But are the chances much lower compared to other areas? I always tell people, if you can, one of the greatest things that I ever personally did early on was spend an extra $400 to $500 a month to live in a nicer condo in a nicer part of town. Because of that one decision, I not only was in a better state of mind, was at peace, felt safer, but I was around really successful people who were doing the things at the time that I wanted to do, and it helped me create great relationships. That ripple effect changed and altered my entire life. Could I have become successful in another location that wasn't as good? Absolutely. But to the magnitude of what happened for that extra $400, $500, that investment of, let's say, $5,000 extra a year turned into millions and millions of dollars. So we have to look at what associations come with living in this environment, going to these restaurants, going to these bars, going to these clubs. The simple way to do this, the simple way to assess this, is to look at a club or a restaurant or a community and ask the simple question of, what types of people go to this place? It could be tourists, it could be a certain income bracket, it could be a certain age group. People could dress a certain way. I was telling someone, I have a good friend in hospitality, he said, Grant, one of the most important things for any hospitality brand. The aesthetic, the location, but the music. He said, so interesting. Music has a frequency and it attracts certain types of people. So if you notice, any place that plays house music or Afro beats, high frequency music, you walk in and everyone's good looking. Everyone is dressed to the nines. Everyone is classy, poised, emotionally intelligent, and either successful or on the track to become extremely successful and has a great group of friends. And so when you pick up on these commonalities, when we enter these rooms, these environments, these restaurants, it changes our energy. But it also is a filter because you walk in there, you're going to talk to certain types of people. You're going to have certain types of food. You're going to listen to certain types of music. Can anything happen both positive or negative? Absolutely. But because you're stepping into this certain environment, certain things are going to come with it. If you have to stay home, if you have to not talk to people for a short season of your life to protect your energy and have a filter to stop the wrong people and environments from getting into your life, then do it. But when you have clear intention about protecting yourself and setting your life up in the right way, nothing may happen overnight. You may not become a millionaire in 3 months. You could, but you probably won't. But you will, over time, all of a sudden 2 to 3 years passes. You're going to dress different, talk different, walk different, have more success, financial security, and an incredible group of people. Every single decision has a ripple effect. It's called the butterfly effect. I don't know if you guys have ever studied World War I. There's a lot of reasons why it started, but what's interesting, you can go watch this on YouTube. There was a parade that was happening, and one king was over here, and one king was on this street. And there was something that went wrong that caused one of them to take the wrong turn and bump into each other. And then the next series of events, because of that little small incident, turned into World War I, and then ultimately probably caused World War II as well. Every little decision shapes our life. You're one decision away from altering the course of your entire life for the better. You're one connection away from becoming a multimillionaire and changing the trajectory of your family. You're one bad decision and bad night away from sitting in a jail cell with your life ruined. I don't want to be cynical, but we have to be very conscious of this. And the reason why setting up a filter in our lives, in our business, in our social circles, in dating, in hiring, is because it's not going to stop everything from happening, but it's going to give you the best absolute odds to protect yourself, protect your family, and protect your peace. So I want to give you a couple examples. So I want to give you guys a couple examples of how I did this in my businesses and saved us so many problems and headaches. And some of you guys are business owners, some of you aren't, but regardless, you'll be able to kind of get a good feel of how we assess this. So we started hiring tens and tens of people, and we quickly got to see what industries, what age groups, and what certain types of traits brought problems where we had to fire people or they quit or they weren't successful, and what industries, people, and positive common denominators brought great people into our business. And after about 6 to 8 months, I said, well, look, we've hired 9 people from this industry, and 8 of them were horrible. 1 of them is right on the fence and may get fired. Why not just ban every single person from that industry? And that's what we did. Even if they're great, even if they're kind, even if they had this really successful background. At my companies, there are certain industries that are completely blacklisted from our company. The next thing we noticed is we have a 2-week boot camp where you have to learn the procedures of the company, how we operate, scripts that you read as from a sales perspective, and knowledge about our industry. What we found is that every single rep, positive comment, and what we learned was that every rep that ended up being super successful knew the entire script day 1 on Monday. Meaning, right when they showed up, they didn't have to spend the next 2 weeks memorizing it. They already had it memorized before they started. And I mean like 90 something percent. Let's say you have 30 successful reps over a course of, I don't know, 2 years. 26 of those successful ones had that script down day one. And so what we did is we changed our procedure to where we would have an expectation call about 2 weeks before the first day of boot camp. And we would go through every expectation on what we expect, being on time, what are going to be the challenges you face, what are the exciting things that are going to happen, what do you need to learn. We built a whole in-house training course program that they go through so they know everything about the industry day one. And we set expectations, our leadership did, with each one of these new hires on what they had to memorize. If day one they didn't memorize that entire script flawlessly, they were let go from the company. It sounds tough and drastic because it is. But if we've done hiring for 2 years and 95% of the people who were successful memorize at day one, and all the ones that didn't, there was less than a 10% chance of success, why would we spend our money, our resources, our time, and our energy training people who weren't prepared? So what do? We made it the new standard of the business to make sure that they had to know these things by day one. And if they didn't, we would either terminate them or they would quit before the boot camp even started. Our retention went up, our conversions went up, our profitability, revenue went up, and the overall happiness, well-being, and performance of the business went through the roof. So see, we have to make so many decisions as a business owner, as a person in general. And we're constantly weighing risk and assessing if this person is lying, if they're being honest, if they're a good person, if they're someone that you want to spend your time with. My last advice to you is my last piece of advice to you and what I learned that changed my life forever is to stop having to always rely on your instincts. And if you have filters set up, then those filters will block all of these people from getting through. So by the time everyone has gotten through, 90% plus of all the characteristics they have are great. I'll give you an example. If you're in a top of the line club in your city that heavily vets every single person, is there a chance bad people are in it? Maybe, but they're probably much lower than just a regular bar. People are going to be earning more income. They're going to dress nicer. They're going to be used to being around a higher end crowd. So you're going to get a certain type of person. You still need to vet people. You still need to get to know them better. But that filter alone blocks the bulk of problems that come through things. So we have to think about how do we prevent the wrong people from ever entering our life so we can set ourselves up to be more successful, happy, fulfilled, and create incredible opportunities for our life, our business, and our family. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you're a fan of it, make sure to leave a comment below, like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. And as always, I'm rooting for all of you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and I will see you guys again for the daily affirmations as well as episode 148. Thank you guys. Have an incredible week.